Alright boys, so the Little Big Tengu event should be live over on the NA version of the game as this video is going up, so I'm here to do my event guide for it, and really, unless you mind doing missions, kind of like what we just did for Saber Wars 2, the rerun that just came to the NA version of the game, this event really isn't all that difficult. I mean, even the farming nodes, I would argue, maybe are a little bit easier than Saber Wars 2, because Saber Wars 2 had that like really big Nero Bride node. All of the ones on this event are 333 nodes, so they're like pretty standard farming nodes. It's not all that difficult, and you get a lot of good stuff as a free-to-play player. So with all that being said, let's just go ahead and start talking about this event and what you need to kind of expect going through it. So first and foremost, what is the gimmick for this event? Well, you're going to have these little goons that are going to help you out throughout the event. They'll give you like little buffs here and there, like Jason's going to give you arts. You have Benkei that gives you an NP damage buff. Kualter gives you Buster. Ushi gives you a quick buff. And this one gives you the Omni buff and a 50% battery. So obviously this is the one you want to be working towards. But it's a nice little support gimmick that you have going during the event. It's a little bit nice for maybe players that have a little bit of a weaker box, but if your box is kind of strong in any capacity, you should be able to get this done. I mean, when this came to the JP version of the game the first time, I was able to pretty much do this pretty effortlessly with the Muramasa that I just got over on the JP version of the game, and yeah, it was pretty fine for me, right? Like, even for like some of the early Archer nodes, I was able to get away with using Muramasa with like double Castoria, so like, it's a nice little bonus that they can give you, but it shouldn't be too necessary for you. Secondly, you can expect to get some rank ups for two free-to-play servants, Ushi and Benkei over here. Yeah, we finally got the tier 3 Benkei, right? Removing all the enemies' buffs. Still not like the most playable servant ever, but a very good step in the right direction. And Ushi actually gets a very strong buff because her charisma gets turned into like attack, crit strength, and she like bombs some crit stars. So like now it's actually like really strong. Very, very strong step in the right direction for Ushi as well, just making her even better than she already was as your free-to-play rider DPS. You also have an opportunity to go ahead and get Maeve's outfit from, I believe this is Summer 2, because as we'll talk about in just a second, she is going up on rate up for this event. The only unfortunate thing is that when you look at some of these event servants, unless you're like really thinking about like Kichi Hogan in particular, there's not really any strong farming servants that you're going to be using that's going to make your life like that much easier. Like, for instance, the last event, Space Ishtar had event damage bonus, so that could really make your life easier if you happen to have her, right? You don't really have that in this event. You do have a lot of really strong single target servants though for the challenge quest, that if maybe you want to break one of these guys out, you know, in particular, if you go for Kijyo Koyo, you can use her and she'll absolutely thrash that because she'll have so much damage. Or for any of the main quest fights, if you're really struggling with those, you could break out her, or say your Jalters, if you're going to be based like me, you can use people like that. But really, I wouldn't focus too much on it unless you want to use like the bond stuff for it. There's not like a definitive insane farmer you want to be using. Unless you want to use Jason. Like, Jason's pretty solid if you want to go ahead and use him, but I don't know, even with the 50% special damage bonus, if he's going to be better than just like your Space Ishtar or your not Murasaki, but what is her name? Musashi. Completely blanked there. Sorry about that. Literally completely blanked. But yeah, you're probably better off just using your normal farming setups. But hey, maybe if your box is a little weaker, maybe Jason can help you out. You know, free NP 5, he can loot pretty well, get stronger with every NP. I don't know, maybe you want to go ahead and do that. So let's start moving in to the main thing that I'm sure everybody is super gassed about for this event, and that's going to be Kijyo Koyo coming out. But she's not alone coming out, because she also brings Kualter and Maeve on rate up with her as well, who are both also really strong servants in their own rights. Kualter is like one of the strongest solo servants in the game. Again, he's going to be getting an NP damage buff that just makes him absolutely insane. I believe it's going to be for Anniversary when he gets his buff. It gives him the ability to remove like all enemy defensive NP, or not defensive NPs, but defensive buffs. Makes him really insane. Maeve is going to turn into like a pseudo buffer slash DPS servant. Like, she kind of has a similar glow up like Ozzy, where they kind of start off rather basic, but then they get really insane after they start getting a couple of their buffs. So yeah, Maeve is also one of those servants that if you're more of like a dolphin, more of a whale, might be worth going for, but obviously the main prize for this event is going to be Kijyo Koyo, right? Like, if you're going to be going for anyone, you should probably go for her first, and it's why it's so unfortunate that not only MHX went on rate up just like a couple of days ago is when her banner went live on the NA version, but also MHX Ultra is going to be going up for the Grail Live event in about like a month or two. It's really unfortunate because I think you can make a very strong argument that she is just the best quick DPS servant in the game, if not one of the best DPS servants in the game. Like, she is absolutely insane. She's got good survivability, can ramp up her damage, can do insane crits. I mean, the girl just does way too much. She can like remove enemy buffs. Just everything she's doing is rather insane. If you need more details on what she can actually do, you could check out a video that I put out a couple of days ago where I just gave her a dedicated servant video. But yeah, she's kind of nuts. And so obviously, if you're kind of settled on like your Lost Belt 6 summoning funds and there's no one you really want to go for in the foreseeable future, she's definitely a very strong servant to go for. I mean, she even has like a battery and everything. Again, I have a whole video dedicated to her, but she just does like everything. She's so insane as a single target servant. So obviously the hype for this servant is definitely warranted. But let's start talking about some of the actual like mechanics, well, not mechanics, but like some of the nodes you'll be doing in this event. So I kind of skipped down here to where like the gold free quests are, because these are the main ones you're going to be farming, right? General rule of thumb is that once you start seeing that you're getting like the gold apples for thing, you're on like the better nodes. These are generally more worth farming, but you know, because these are just going to be like beginning of the event, nothing you really need to concern yourself with too hard. But look at them, like all these really good nodes that you're going to be farming are all 333 nodes, and even like the final one down here is just like riders. Pretty nice. Like it's just a very nice event. It's a really good change of pace from the Saber Wars 2 that we just got, where you kind of had like the best node was like that 112, or was it 121? I forget, but it was a weird node, right? It was very strange with the Nero Bride in there. And so it's kind of a nice change of pace that you now just have like 333 nodes that are just very traditional. They're very easy to farm. I mean, hey man, even if you're using Jason, you can use them to clean up some of these nodes over here, because they're not really that big either. Like, none of these guys are really clearing like 200k HP. And even this one is a mixed class node. You know, it's archers and berserkers, but that just means you can just use your lancers, right? Like, it's not that big of a deal. So yeah, realistically, shouldn't be that stressful of a farm, which I'm kind of glad that it's not going to be that stressful of a farm, because they are bringing back missions like they did in Saber Wars 2. So you're going to need to do all this stuff like, you know, just clearing the story, leveling up Kichi Hogan, defeating random enemies of random types, and beating up wyverns and dragons and enemies that are humans, just different servant types, all the general good stuff that you have from like these mission lists. So just, you know, try to keep track of that. There are plenty of guides online that also can tell you like specifically what order to go in, or what nodes are good for like what point of the event that you're at. They can be very helpful, and it would save me like 30 minutes going over like, here's what you need to do here, and here. It's like, just pop up one of those and you can just kind of follow it along as you're trying to knock out some of these missions. But let's talk about some of the free stuff you'll be getting for this event. Obviously, one of the main things that people are hyped about is Kichi Hogan. I mean, she's a super adorable servant. Like, come on, bro. Like, don't play with me. Super adorable, but she's also really good. I also have a video on her that I released alongside Tyra. She's a very solid free-to-play servant. Her damage, even at NP5, can look maybe a little lackluster, but you can still get the job done if you need to use her as like a farmer or something. Really, I just think her damage doesn't look super impressive even at NP5 as a free-to-play, is because of her assassin classing. If you don't know, different classes in FGO have different like damage modifiers, right? Avengers do mad crazy damage usually, and assassins usually have like a negative damage modifier. They are like actually having to fight against the game's mechanics to actually do damage to people. So the fact that she could still do respectable damage despite being an assassin, I think is more than fine. Like, if you're looking for like a quick farming servant to use, you could definitely make use of Kichi Hogan. She's also kind of nice as like a pseudo kind of support type servant, you know, because she's got the ability to like give an ally some NP and like give some attack and some party NP gen. She has the ability to like remove enemy defensive buffs. I had somebody on my stream the other day ask like, hey, could I do like Kichi Hogan plus Kijyo Koyo, right? It's kind of like a funny lore meme team, right? And it's like, yeah, you could kind of get that to work. You know, she's an AoE. She can drop some stars with an AoE quick NP. She can remove defensive buffs, even though Tyra can already do stuff like that. But, you know, she can like remove buffs from the enemy to make things a little bit easier for Tyra, I guess, if she doesn't have her own NP available. She can give her some buffs and stuff and kind of help her out. Just in general, you can get some usage out of Kichi Hogan. She's a pretty solid free-to-play servant. Nothing super broken, but definitely worth grabbing and definitely worth maybe using every now and then to kind of get a hang of her. And if you get her maxed out, you can actually use her for farming in the event because she has a 100% special damage mod for the event. Now let's talk about some of the event cards and the event CEs. And these are all actually pretty solid. This is just free 20% crit damage on any card that you want. Slap this on a DPS servant that you know that you're going to be using pretty often, and it'll put in some work, right? If there's someone like Jalter and they've already got 50% crit damage, bada boom, bada bing, slap this on that Buster card, it's now got 70% crit damage. It's just really nice. It's going to give your crit servants in particular a lot of extra bite to them, right? I think it's really good to either use for some of your more mid-range guys like Jalter with their 50%. I don't really see a point in putting on like Super Orion, who's already going to have like a billion majillion crit damage, but you could also use it for your servants that maybe only have like a 30% crit buff, and you could try to buff it up to make their cards actually 50% and kind of bring them more in line with like the average crit damage that a lot of servants have. Because, you know, if you don't know, most servants get like 50% crit damage for free. I don't know why sometimes now they're kind of shafting some servants and giving them only 30%, and you could try to bring this up inadvertently by using something like this. But again, free 20% crit damage is free 20% crit damage. This one is also free 10% right here, but it also has a nice little gimmick of being able to remove an attack buff from an enemy, so that's kind of nice. If you know that there's an enemy you're going to be fighting in particular that's going to give themselves attack buffs, and you know that you're going to use the servant to take them down, for instance, if there's like a Gilgamesh fight that you know that's going to be coming up, right, where Gilgamesh is going to give himself an attack buff because he has a charisma, and you want to put it on one of your Lancers because you're preparing for that fight, you're getting double utility out of this. But it's also just really nice because free 10% crit damage, all the same reasons that the other one was really good. Same for this one, except it's 10 instead of 20, right? It's just free damage on whatever card you want. This one I think is kind of funny because you get to remove an offensive debuff, but then you also just gain 1 star when using this card. So it's like, I don't know, you could drop like 1 guaranteed star on your arts card, I guess, if you want to be kind of funny like that, because arts cards don't usually drop crit stars. Or you could just give it to somebody that you really don't want them getting debuffed. It's kind of one of those ones that like, you'll probably replace it with a different command code, but it's not like bad, you know, getting to remove any debuffs that you get hit with. But I don't know. I just think it's funny. Like, I probably will unironically just slap it on one of my arts cards to be like, dude, look at that arts card, just gen some stars. It's just really funny to me. Anyway, let's talk about the free-to-play CE. This one's actually a little nasty, right? This one's actually kind of nutty. It's a max attack free-to-play CE that's going to give you 15% Buster and 20% Buster crit with a 50% starting charge. This can just be kind of nice on a lot of servants, right? Because NP damage is pretty generic. It's like attack. It can go on a quick, arts, buster servant, doesn't really matter. And you may be saying, well, shouldn't it only be relegated to your buster servants because it only gives you buster crit damage? Well, you'll kind of need to remember that a lot of servants have like hybrid decks, right? For instance, someone like Okita Alter, who has like a hybrid Buster Quick deck. I know that she's a Buster servant, but still, she uses both of those cards, like primarily. She's trying to make use of both of those card types. You could put it on those hybrid servants, especially since we know that someone like Ruler Scotty is on the horizon, who kind of likes to buff both quick servants and the Buster crit damage of those quick servants, right? So we know that some of these supports in the future are also going to specialize in kind of giving some hybrid style buffs, and so it can be really nice for just anybody that needs extra Buster crit damage. And it's Buster crit damage. Like, who doesn't like doing more Buster crits, right? Actually, funny enough, in total, between this and both of the command codes, you can give like one of those cards free 50% crit damage. So yeah, it's just literally the crit event, right? I mean, Tyra's got a 100% crit damage buff. All of the things they're giving us are doing crit stuff. You're just going to be critting stuff all over the place, right? And the free 50% NP is always really good, you know, if you just need that for whatever setup you're going to be doing. Make sure you are using it, though, to get that enemy appearance right. It's going to make your life a lot easier when doing those missions. But with that being said, that's pretty much it for the event. As you guys can kind of tell, nothing like super strenuous going on here, except just kind of keeping track of your missions. But even the free quests just being pretty chill, right? All being 333 nodes is really nice. It just means it's going to be a very, like, casual, nice event coming off of Saber Wars 2, with like the next major event being the Grail Live that's going to be coming, well, Grail Live, but the Grail Front, I mean. Grail Front, then we have like Valentine's, and then Grail Live is kind of like a more major event. You get like 9 different costumes, so it's just a nice kind of cool event with a new free-to-play servant and a pretty busted summoning campaign. But with all that being said, I'm gonna go ahead and get out of here. You guys have yourselves a nice day. Make sure to leave a like on the video and subscribe to the channel. I forgot to say that at the very beginning. Also, I stream every weekday on my Twitch. If you made it this far, you can peep that in the description down below. But anyway, now I'm getting out of here. You guys have yourselves a nice day. Peace. Late, guys.